God gave us health principles, which, if they had been followed, might have made us the healthiest people in the world. A power wherever we are and an example to the world. That was Dr. Kellogg. And Dr. Kellogg continues. He says, there will come a time when these diseases will come with such power and intensity that they will strike down everybody that is not yielded to God. We're kind of figuring that's here. There is no possible way we can prevail against the blitzkrieg of genocidal poisoning of mankind without divine intervention. And that, thank you for that, amen. And that divine intervention comes in two main categories. And both those categories are essential. Category one, nature's automatic detox and defense systems. Category two, claiming God's promises. So let's start with nature's automatic detox and defense system. This is not typically what we hear when we're talking about detox. When God placed Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he surrounded them with nature, side to side, top to bottom. And all of nature was designed to keep them healthy, automatically, without them even trying. And different parts of nature had different jobs in keeping Adam and Eve healthy. It wasn't just the herbs that were for the service of man. It was all of nature. Everything from that bright star 92 million miles away to the very ground they walked on was healing. All they had to do was show up. Just standing there on planet Earth in their bare feet, their health was improving. Health was improving because God embedded our health care into nature. It was God's natural law demonstrated as an example for all of us. And that natural law was the greatest healthcare system the world has ever known, and it still exists. It was simple, easy, powerful, automatic, and free. Still is. It was God's magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system. To neglect or disobey natural law is just suicidal. Fast sweating. You do labor outside, you're sweating, it's automatic. You don't have to think about it. This is from Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. He says, a vast multitude of city dwellers in civilized countries are suffering tortures from disease in various forms and dying prematurely because of the neglect of that important provision in the injunction of the Almighty to Adam, by the sweat of thy brow shalt thou eat thy bread. Every curse that God pronounced on them was a blessing. Indeed, Dr. Kellogg continues, the neglect to sweat is one of many prolific causes of disease in the conditions of civilized life. So fresh air, exercise, sunlight, grounding, sweating, all working together synergistically. And we are told of the power of that synergy. Here's an example. This is from Ellen White. She says, work performed in the open air is 10 times more beneficial to health than indoor labor. Both the mechanic and the farmer have physical exercise, yet the farmer is the healthier of the two. Nothing short of nature's invigorating air and sunshine will fully meet the demands of the system. All right, that's it for sweating. Let's go on to fresh air. Now, I'm assuming, because I did this when I first heard it, that when you turn to fresh air, people shut off because they think, oh, it's no problem, let's step outside. It's so much more than that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read an Ellen White thing here, and I'm going to make comments on it, and then I'm going to make applications to it. And this is one of the most amazing things here. So, here we go. Sister C has a diseased imagination. She has secluded herself from the air until she cannot endure it without inconvenience. The heat of her room is very injurious to health. her circulation is depressed. She has lived in the hot air so much that she cannot endure the exposure of a ride out of doors without realizing a change. That means a negative change. Her poor health is owing somewhat to the exclusion of air, and she has become so tender that she cannot have air without making her sick. They discovered that at the Sunker clinics of Switzerland as well. They had to acclimate their patients to fresh air, little bit at a time. If she continues to indulge this diseased imagination, she will be able to bear scarcely a breath of air. She ought to have the windows lowered in her room all through the day, that there may be a circulation of air. God is not pleased with her for thus murdering herself. My word, this is serious. It is unnecessary. She has become thus sensitive through indulging a diseased mind. Air she needs, air she must have. She is destroying not only her own vitality, but that of her husband and daughter and of all who visit her. The air in her room is decidedly impure and dead. None can have health who accustom themselves to such an atmosphere. She has petted herself in this matter until she cannot visit the houses of the brethren without taking cold. For her own sake, and for the sake of those around her, she must change this. She could accustom herself to the air, increasing it a little every day until she can breathe the pure, vitalizing air without injury. By the way, I do appreciate these windows were all open, and I didn't have to do it. This whole group seemed to understand that already. No, marvelous. The surface of the skin is nearly dead because it has no breath, no air to breathe. Wait a minute. Really? The surface of the skin is nearly dead because it has no air to breathe? That's not the language we usually hear. Its million little mouths are closed because they are clogged by the impurities of the system. For not having fresh air? It would be presumption to let in a free draft of air at once from out of doors all through the day. Let it be in degrees. Change gradually. In a week, she can have the windows down 2 or 3 inches day and night. This is significant. Lungs and livers are diseased because she deprives herself of vital air. What is going on? How does used air do that? It diseases our lungs and livers? We're going to make some serious applications here shortly. Air is the free blessing of heaven, calculated to, what's that word? Electrify. This is the prophet of the Lord. This is not, she means what she says by this. Calculated to electrify the whole system. Without it, the system will be filled with disease and become dormant, languid, and feeble. Yet you have all been for years living with a very limited amount of air. In thus doing, your wife drags others into the same poisonous atmosphere with herself. None of you can possess clear, unclouded brains while breathing poisonous atmosphere. Now, here's just an aside here. How can air be dead if it's still breathable air? How can air electrify the whole system? All right, here's an answer. Have you ever been at the beach or near a waterfall and immediately felt a huge boost in your mood and vitality and energy? That would be due to the high concentrations of fresh, electrified air, electrons in the air, referred to as negative ions. So negative ions are generated in nature by ultraviolet rays from the sun, by discharges of electricity in the air after a lightning strike, by water colliding with itself, like waterfalls and oceans, and by the normal growth process of many plants, including trees. This negative charge has been shown to be beneficial to health in numerous ways, such as preventing asthma or depression, etc. Air has both positive and negative charges in it, but there is a balance between them. But if it's mostly or all positively charged, like indoor air, we get bad effects on our health. I've seen it in our hospitals as a respiratory therapist. The negative charge in indoor air is lost within a very short time, which might partially explain the author's counsels that our homes must be refreshed with a constantly circulating fresh air, or the air will become dead. It loses its electrical charge, and it will no longer electrify the whole system. Continuing on. Sister C dreads to stir out to go anywhere because she must feel the change in the atmosphere and take cold. She can yet be brought into a much better condition of health if she rightly treats herself. Twice a week, now this is a formula, this is an equation here. Twice a week, it's a prescription, that's the word I'm looking for. Twice a week, she should take a general bath as cool as will be agreeable. A little cooler every time until the skin is toned up. Our skin tones up by cool baths? This is new. All right, I'm backed up. Air, air, the precious boon of heaven, which all may have, will bless you with its invigorating influence if you will not refuse it entrance. Welcome it, cultivate a love for it, and it will prove a precious soother of the nerves. Air must be in constant circulation to be kept pure. The influence of pure, fresh air is to cause the blood to circulate healthfully through the system. This is amazing. It refreshes the body and tends to render it strong and healthy, while at the same time its influence is decidedly felt upon the mind, imparting a degree of composure and serenity. It excites the appetite and really renders the digestion of food more perfect just by fresh air. There's power in this. This is a healing agency. It doesn't just take a breath. This is an active healing agent. All right, the effects produced by living in close, ill-ventilated rooms are these. You ready? The system becomes weak and unhealthy. The circulation is depressed. The blood moves sluggishly through the system because it is not purified and vitalized by the pure, invigorating air of heaven. The mind becomes depressed and gloomy. We're going to come back to that. While the whole system is enervated, that means weakened, and fevers and other acute diseases are liable to be generated. Fevers. Your careful exclusion of external air and fear of free ventilation leave you to breathe the corrupt, unwholesome air which is exhaled from the lungs of those staying in these rooms, and which is poisonous, unfit for the support of life. The body becomes relaxed, the skin becomes sallow, digestion is retarded, and the system is peculiarly sensitive to the influence of cold. A slight exposure produces serious diseases. Now, the next slide is another lesson we can learn from this E.G. White quote. Wintertime seasonal affective disorder, you've heard of that before? SADS, it's called. Wintertime seasonal affective disorder, SADS, and sealing oneself up indoors in the winter both cause depression, gloom, and fatigue. Did a question just show up in your brain there? A what if? What if SADS isn't really about a light deficiency? What if it's a fresh air deficiency? Could SADS be cured by keeping a window open to let fresh, cold, electrified air in? Does that make sense? No medical doctor is going to tell you that. Now, one last lesson to learn from this fresh air quote. In the wintertime, we can be eating very healthy vegan diet, drinking lots of water, etc. But if we seal ourselves up indoors, we can expect to be toxic and diseased by springtime. With our lungs and livers diseased and our pores clogged with impurities, is it any wonder why so many develop skin rashes and so-called sun sensitivities when they finally step back into the spring sunlight? Some of the accumulated toxins could be reacting negatively to sunlight, causing rashes. And/or sunlight is beginning to open those pores and draw those impurities out to the surface of the skin, where they irritate the skin, causing rashes. Now, the merchants of Pharmacia call those rashes polymorphous light eruption, but they claim that we need their drugs to manage them. Great, just add more toxin to the burden of the body. According to the NIH, polymorphic light eruption is a fairly common skin rash triggered by exposure to sunlight or artificial UV light. Well, what a coincidence that is. Sealing oneself up in the winter is also a fairly common thing. What if the cause of springtime skin rashes is simply closed windows in the winter? Diseases are just symptoms of living out of harmony with Eden's healthcare principles. The natural order of things was that we were designed to live, work, and sleep outdoors in God's magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system, nature. All right, in a nutshell, fresh electrified air actively detoxifies us. It happens automatically if we don't seal ourselves indoors. Who knew? Is this all too hard to believe here? Well, here's a bit of verification by a very famous guy named Leonardo da Vinci. He's verifying what Ellen White said. Here we go. The importance of keeping the skin pores unclogged is impressively illustrated by a tragic incident which occurred in Italy in the 15th century. In preparing picturesque decorations for a feast given by the Duke of Milan, the famous artist Leonardo da Vinci covered a young boy with gold leaf to represent the Golden Age. The boy became very ill, and every effort was made to remove the gilding, but without success. And in a few days, though warmly wrapped, he died in the artist's arms, shivering with cold. There's a lot more significance to our skin pores than we knew.